everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Longley's Line Podcast. I am your host, Stephen Longley. Remember, like, follow, subscribe on all of those social medias. Stephen Longley for me, Longley's Line for our show, Lightstyle Studio for our studio here. And as you guys know, we like to bring on guests from all different facets of the entertainment industry, and today is no different. Today I have Tina Anderson, also known as Titanium Tina. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Before we do get started on whatever we're going to talk about today, go ahead and promote your social medias, whatever you'd like people to follow, see, anything like that.
Okay, I am Titanium Tina Burlesque on Instagram. Facebook, it's just Titanium Tina. And my link tree that has all the shows and links to tickets is Titanium Tina Burlesque.
Perfect. And if you don't know how to spell titanium, just, it's like aluminum. Sort of.
It's Googleable.
Yeah. It's like, just try your best.
Yeah.
That's the easiest way to do it. So where are you from originally?
I'm originally from the East Coast of Virginia.
East Coast of Virginia?
Yeah.
Okay. And what was it like growing up there compared to like being in Reno here?
A lot less dry.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Quite the climate change. It really, in a lot of ways, was similar, I feel like, to Reno because I was right near Virginia Beach, Virginia, which is a huge tourist town.
Sure.
So also a lot of military. So just kind of the locals here have a certain vibe about locals and about tourists, and it's very similar in that area of Virginia as well.
He's like, we want the locals, not the tourists.
Well, we want
you
them.
kind of
We
want
need
the
tourists,
yeah.
But just the annoyances of kind of the traffic and the drama that they can create, in your town is quite similar in that area. Yeah.
Did we have, in Virginia, was it similar to something where it's like we have people that say Nevada instead of Nevada? Was there anything where it's like you could tell they're not a local based on something that they said? Did you have something like that?
The city I lived in right before I moved was Norfolk, Virginia. It's Norfolk. So if anyone said Norfolk, then we knew.
Like, where are you from? Get out of here.
Yeah.
What are you doing? When you were growing up, kind of going through, what did you, kind of a different way to phrase it, when you were a kid, did you have an idea of what you wanted to do for a living? Did you kind of think, oh, maybe I'll do X, Y, and Z? Did you have an inkling when you were younger?
I definitely had my passions that tie into what I do now, but a lot of my childhood was spent surviving, and I wasn't able to kind of dream in that way. I got to do it for myself when I got older, but I definitely put on shows in my living room with costumes and a full program and snacks and everything.
The inspiration. I've got you the juice boxes. Get out here.
Yes, exactly. Brownies and Kool-Aid.
There's Scooby snacks right next to the Kool-Aid. Go get them.
Yeah.
So when you say surviving, what do you mean?
I mean, it's just not talked about enough, and we definitely it's not the space to get into things here, but not everybody has an ideal upbringing.
Sure. Yeah.
They're not always born into the family that is going to be the greatest to them. Sometimes you kind of have to separate
yourself,
and live for yourself and get away from some really unhealthy things.
Sure.
And make your own life. So it's not everybody's story is an easy one.
Yeah. Not everything's written the same.
No.
Yeah. So as you're growing up, kind of thinking the performance lifestyle is where you're going to kind of gravitate towards. In high school or anything like that, did you perform as well? Or
Yeah, I did. I starting from a young age, I took a bunch of different forms of dance. So I did ballet and pointe and tap and jazz and all of that. I also played sports, but I had a degenerative knee condition that started they started falling apart. Had my first knee surgery in high school.
Okay.
So it kind of started to affect my plans for the rest of my life and what I wanted to do.
Sure.
Definitely shifted, and again, went more into a survival mode as the condition worsened. So
Right.
fast forward, that situation got taken care of with double knee replacements
there you
a
go.
few years ago. Yeah, hence titanium Tina.
I think that titanium
Yeah,
stands the test of time.
definitely. Yeah.
So as you're going through it, kind of figuring things out, from high school, getting all the tap, did you have any sort of inspiration when you're growing up? As in, like, did you have a movie or a musical or something that kind of stuck with you that was like, yes, this is what I'm going to do?
Yeah, definitely. It's the Wizard of Oz.
Really?
Hands down.
Okay.
Like, we didn't have cable growing up, and when that movie came on once a year, like, we were able to stay up and watch it, and I lived for it. Just the whole, from black and white to Technicolor, just
I know.
the music, the magic of the whole thing. Yeah.
What was the
Hands
part
down.
that stuck out, or was it the entirety of it?
It really was just the whole fantasy,
Mm-hmm.
the whole literal dream of it all, you
Yeah.
know. Of course, it's magical
Yeah.
when we switch into Technicolor.
Oh, I know. The sparkles and the bright lights
Yeah.
and cowardly lions coming running at you.
Yeah, just all of it. There's just so much fun in that movie.
Did you ever think about, or maybe you have done, a performance of like a Wicked or a version of Wizard of Oz on like stage or something like that?
It's the dream. I have so many act ideas. There's some floating on different levels.
Right.
But that's one of them. I dressed as Dorothy with my wife was a scarecrow, and our dogs were Toto and Glinda the Good Witch this
Ooh,
year.
okay.
And that was super fun, and definitely reignited that desire to turn that into an act. I would love to maybe start as Dorothy, but also like morph into other characters throughout the act.
That'd
I think
be
that
cool.
would be really fun.
Start as Dorothy and then you just get a little robotic and then the Tin Man comes
Even
in.
costume-wise, as reveals happen, you reveal into a totally different character.
Yeah.
I think that would be fun.
That'd be sweet, especially on stage. The performance aspect of it, just costume
Yeah,
change.
yeah.
Nobody's prepared for it.
Love it.
That's the best
So
part.
much fun.
So after high school, you're kind of dipping your toe in all sorts of different dance and sports and everything like that, and then you find out about the knee. What do you do after high school? Like, what was your next step after then?
I went to school for music therapy.
Okay.
And studied that for 4 years. And then,
Before you keep going, what is music therapy?
gosh, I just heard something about a local organization starting here, which
Okay.
is really interesting for music therapy, which is really cool. But it's basically a form of, the simplest way to describe it, it's like a form of therapy. But instead of like a psychologist or a therapist where talk is their medium, music is the medium.
Okay.
So sometimes like it's easier to get someone to talk about something that they need to express through the channel of music rather than sitting there and saying, now what's on your mind?
Right.
Tell me today. And just also the healing powers of music and how it can incite memory.
Yeah.
And just so many things. Yeah.
Yeah. Where does it go into the sense of where it's a particular song or a genre that might ignite something? Is that like kind of the idea?
Yeah, like you have to think about your demographic. Like, for example, I did like a practicum in a nursing home. And so I learned that Patsy Cline is
Oh,
from that area, Winchester,
sure.
Virginia. Is where she's from.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I kind of had to research the area and who's around, and that wasn't hard to find because people were pretty proud of that. But
Yeah.
then I knew, one part of my session with them was movement, getting them to move. So regular exercise is no fun, but we would go walking after midnight with Patsy Cline, and we'd sing
Three
along
cigarettes
and
in the
have
ashtray.
movement.
Let's go.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, but also if you pick something from someone's heyday, their era, especially if they're having memory issues,
Yeah.
it can help to bring up memories.
I recently had this conversation with a coworker of mine because we both had worked in retirement homes or like active living homes or any sort of nursing homes, and we both worked in different portions of it. And he was telling me of one person that he had loved him some Tony Bennett. So as they were getting ready in the morning, he would put on Tony Bennett and the guy would, whoo, listen to Tony sing. And then his memories instantly came back and he started moving and grooving because it just ignites something.
Yeah.
And so it's similar to that kind of, that's cool. And then you think about too, it's like, if you're feeling something, a certain song comes on that ignites whatever you're feeling at that moment. Like recently, just yesterday, I had a feeling my grandpa passed away recently, and a song comes on that makes me think of him like, well, it's time. I'm by myself, have a couple of tears going down. It just makes you feel better. It
does.
sucks in the moment, but then you have that little switch that you can either be happy, sad, or just reminisce, and then it kind of makes you feel better.
Emotions are not bad.
No.
All of them. You know,
Yeah.
it's good to experience the range, and music can be the conduit
Yeah.
for you to express emotions that you need to otherwise might be difficult to express, you
Yeah.
know, or we tend to press down because life and, you know, we have so much to do
Life,
and
surroundings,
Yeah.
whatever's going on. So as you're kind of dipping your toe into music therapy, do you continue to study that through college? Or are you also trying to dabble in the dancing aspect as well? Or kind of what are you doing at that point?
Oh my gosh, I moved around so much and trying to figure out life and what I really, what do I really want to be when I grow up?
Yeah.
Like, gosh, there was just so much. So I bounced around a little bit, back to Virginia, back and forth, and then I moved to New York.
Okay.
And I worked for the musical Avenue Q. I got to host that show, and that was really awesome.
Wow.
And is actually where I met my wife.
Really?
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. So I lived there for like 3.5 years, and then I moved back to Virginia for a while, and then
Okay.
we got married and moved here.
Why here? What was it that brought you guys here?
Gosh, it was weird. We were both working night shift at a hospital during the pandemic in Virginia.
Sure.
And had been doing that for, it was 3.5 years I worked night shift, so it was
Okay.
a long zombie-filled
I've been on
time.
night shifts. I know how
You
they
know,
go.
yeah. So it was an ultimate plan to come out here because her parents are here.
Oh, okay.
And we wanted to spend some more time with them. They're a little bit older, but super active. And like, she has no siblings. They have a small family. Like, I want to learn more about you. You know,
Yeah.
who am I going to learn from? Like, you don't
Yeah.
have any siblings or anything. Like, I want to hang out with your parents more, and they're precious. So, we moved out here at the end of the pandemic. So it was still things were still a little shut down when we got here a few years
Right.
ago. Yeah.
And what was the initial reaction when you guys came down here? 'Cause having myself never been really to the East Coast area, I would imagine it was quite a culture shock, in a sense.
A little bit, yeah. It was weird because a lot of things were shut down.
Yeah.
At first, so it was kind of hard to figure and suss out,
See what the life is around
Yeah,
here.
yeah. So it took a while, and I felt like, such an outsider in a way, but also, I work for, and my wife is a dancer in Magique.
Oh, okay.
The showgirl magic show
Yeah.
here in Reno, and that helped making friends with. I knew some of the showgirls for years and years and years, and some of them were new and built more of a family there, and got to go out more, and then getting more involved in burlesque too as things started to open up really helped me to fall in love with the city
Yeah.
and the people here. But it was rough at first.
Oh, sure. Especially during the pandemic
Yeah,
when nothing's
yeah.
going on.
Yeah.
And you're saying, well, there's a lot of casinos and showrooms. What do we do? Nothing?
Nothing, yeah.
So when you guys come down here, you're meeting the family and kind of hanging out and, getting to know everything. When things start to open up, did you have the idea of, because she was dancing first, did you get back into it first? Or because you were working the night shift in Virginia and then come
Yeah.
back, who took that first step to kind of open that door back
Well,
up?
she's always been dancing as long as I've known her. She's been doing a lot of shows with the same company that does this magic show. So she never stopped, really.
Right.
But for me, my body did not have the space to perform. I did belly dance for a really long time, and then I had to stop because of the condition of my knees. I could no longer perform.
Right.
So then it was a mission of like finally getting a doctor, although most of them agreed that I definitely was a candidate for knee replacements. I was too young, and they just didn't want to touch it. And
Yeah.
then it just got so bad that it was really hard to just do daily life, grocery shopping, and just everything was really difficult.
Yeah. Don't realize how much you use your knees until
Yeah,
you can.
yeah, right. So I finally got a surgeon that agreed to do it, and I had finally had ample insurance, because that's the other thing, the other key. So my goal when I healed, I made my goal be I'm finally going to do burlesque.
There you
I'm
go.
finally going to get to do it.
Yeah.
So I healed, and it was the pandemic.
Of course.
Right.
How it always goes.
Yeah, but it did make available more classes that were not prior to the pandemic because everybody went online. So locally, I really didn't have that much to choose from, but it actually helps me to study better, having online availability. And I could, with the night shift, I could work out, different time zones and stuff sometimes. Which is really cool.
Especially too, I don't know if the experience was the same for night shifts, but for mine, it's slow. So you're not doing much. You're kind of just there
Yeah.
to make sure if something does go wrong, you're there to help out. But then it's like, you got some time. I'll kind of research a few things.
Yeah, you got to keep yourself awake too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did that a number of times in different. One was at an animal hospital, the other was at a factory, and neither were fast-paced. So I'm just sitting there watching movies, trying my best. Like, what time is it? All right, I've been here for 6 hours. It's been 45 minutes. Shit. Yeah, I did that a lot. It was rough. So you're kind of getting into the burlesque learning and everything. When everything started to open up, what was kind of the first show that you did?
Oh, it seems to be common with a lot of people, like especially people that are asking me now how to get into burlesque. I'm like, I did that too. But basically, I stood in my own way for a long time.
Sure.
It takes a lot of courage.
Yeah.
And with burlesque, you produce everything. Your costume, your routine, your music,
Yeah.
your everything.
It's all your
you.
performance,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it can be very intimidating, and also it's the art of the tease. You're removing articles of clothing. It is stripping. It's a different version, but it is.
Yeah,
so it
different
just takes a lot
category of it.
It takes a lot. So I stood in my own way. But the first show that I did do was with Sweet and Lethal Burlesque.
Okay.
It's the only monthly burlesque show here in Reno. It's been running for several years now.
wow.
Yeah, it's really great. It's a lot of local talent there, and we go the third Thursday of every month at the Polo Lounge in Reno.
Okay. Well, I've seen that a few times for the posters and stuff.
You should
Interesting.
come. It's a great show.
I will definitely check it out now.
Yeah.
I've never been to that area. I've just seen the posters. Like, oh, interesting. Okay, I'm going home. I'm going to sleep.
Yeah.
So when you do decide, get out of your own way and put on the show, what was your performance like? What kind of how do I say it? What kind of performance was it? How like what kind of category, theme, or anything like that?
Oh, so it's funny, I really, really worked hard on this one number for a while, and I had a dress from the magic show that they're not using. The costumer spoils me. It gets pieces that they're not using and lets
Yeah.
me use them. I feel so rotten. But there's this one dress that wraps completely around my body, and it comes off as part of the
okay.
act and unwraps, and I wrap a person up with it as it comes off. It's super fun. So I worked on that really hard. But I needed a professional to help me. I was really nervous to sew on someone else's costume
Right.
what I needed done. So I sent it to my friend that was a professional in like San Francisco area.
Okay.
And it wasn't going to come back in time.
Oh no.
And I was like, I finally made myself do this. And now my costume that I've been toiling over and my number and everything is not going to be ready.
Yep.
So instead of like, again, being like, I can't do this, I just shifted gears and went to another song that I was in love with and wanted to do a number with and already knew up one side and down the other. Went with like a 50s kind of housewife in the kitchen theme. It's
Okay.
Come On to My House song.
okay.
Yeah. So it's super fun. I have lots of goodies. It's a fun act. I give away cookies and I throw fruit out into the audience and I have candy hidden in certain places. And
You've won me over with the cookies.
There you go. I had you at
love
cookies.
Oh yeah, cookies.
Perfect.
So, do you keep that that number in your performances now?
I do. I still do that number. I try to rotate. Again, with burlesque, it's different. You repeat acts, and you season them and develop them more and
Yeah.
develop the character even more. So yeah, that one is fun to come around to. I definitely made it a point to do it on my year anniversary of that show.
Of course,
Let's
yeah.
do this again.
Got to bring it back.
Yeah,
Show
I had
how
special
it's grown.
cupcakes that time.
Oh, winning me with the sweets.
There you go.
I love sweets. So, as you're starting to grow in the performance and everything, how do you feel it shifts? From like your first show to your last or your most recent show. How do you feel that your performances have shifted? Like, does the confidence level feel like it's gone up so much that now I've done this a million times, I can do this, no problem? Or do you kind of feel like I need to over-exaggerate this or make this do better? Or do you have any thoughts like that?
Yeah, definitely. Like it's ever evolving, and I have been making it a point lately to slow down. I am so happy to be there, and I just have so much to give. But I realize like I speed through some things, and I also don't. I think some of the most beautiful moments on stage are when people just stop for a second and take it in or let you in or take a breath, take a beat.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to push myself to it's more vulnerable that way. So I think that's part of it. But confidence has increased, but I'm always nervous.
Oh, sure.
I think if I'm not, then I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah.
But I just love it so much that anytime I get a chance to perform for people, it's like, if you want to see who I am, come watch me perform.
Yeah. When you lose that nervousness, it kind of, you lose the
Yeah.
love of the game.
Yeah.
That's
I
kind of
think
how
so.
that feels. I understand that for like an actor's standpoint, when it comes to things, you have your lines and you want to read them and get it through, and then you realize, I need to slow down. Slow down, let the words kind of go how they need to, and put the audience on the edge of their seat. When you have the audience, then that kind of makes it, okay, everyone's listening.
It's very much the art of the tease in a different way.
Same idea,
Yeah.
except two different things.
Build
but
build the anticipation.
it's all
Make them want
performing.
it.
Yeah, maybe you're like,
Yeah.
I wonder what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
And see how it's going. So, within your performances, what have you seen show-wise? Do you have any stories behind the scenes of, like, I'm performing this thing and then all of a sudden this happened? Do you have any kind of stories from behind the scenes of any shows?
I mean, It's not really. I can't think of any like backstage. I mean, there's always like, costume malfunctions that are kind of funny, or, one time I went on stage missing a complete piece of my costume. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't even put it, I don't even know what I didn't put it on.
Yeah.
So a majority of the number was improvised, and like, well, I'm doing something.
Yeah. I'm not going to let this derail me.
And no one knew.
Yeah.
I mean, except for the people that had really seen it, and my wife, like
That
they were
helped
the
work on it or
yeah,
something, yeah.
they're the only ones that knew. Everyone's like, "You did great." I'm like, "Thanks." I
Thanks,
totally
I was
forgot a
missing an
piece.
entire thing.
Yeah, I lunched on that. That hasn't happened since, thank goodness. Yeah. But, that was weird.
But as long you kind of became that little seasoned vet where you're like, I'm rolling with the punches.
Yeah, we're just gonna go with it.
Who's gonna know?
Again, I'm so happy to be here. I'm gonna make the most of it.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
gonna sit here and perform
Yeah.
for you guys.
Yeah.
And with those performances, do you have a favorite number that's come through aside from that first one? Do you have a favorite number that you like performing?
There's two that are my favorite. There's one that is my favorite, and it's like everyone's favorite right now, and that's my jellyfish number.
Okay.
So I'm like a big giant bioluminescent jellyfish with tentacles, and it's there might be some googly eyes involved at some point, and it's
Yeah.
just a blast. Like, and it's a surprise, that one. I think the way it starts out in the transition in the music, and which was obviously on purpose to get them thinking that it's this cute little thing, and then oh my god,
And
the
all of a
jellyfish is
sudden,
she's coming out from under the sea, living her life.
And then you guys aren't even ready. Here we
No,
go.
I don't think you're ready for this jelly. No.
Hope you got your toast ready.
Yes.
So, so with your performances, now that you're kind of going through and feel a seasoned vet, is there a number that you've wanted to try? I know we kind of talked about Wizard of Oz. Do you have any other that you're kind of mulling over that you're working on without giving anything away?
Yeah, I'm about to take a little bit of a pause. So I am seriously like mulling over my comeback act. I think it really needs to be something new, and also I need that energy to work on that for a little while.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'd be a
Do
good
you-
project.
To kind of go along those lines with your little pause, I know we wanted to kind of bring awareness to what you're kind of going through. Would you like to kind of tell the story of,
Yeah.
Yeah,
so everything was fine. I'm in school, and I've just finished a semester for Christmas break, and I got my second annual mammogram, only the second one, and turns out I have breast cancer. So going through all the process right now with appointments, and I just met with a surgeon this morning, and but throughout the whole thing, the biggest takeaway is that I am like the poster child for getting your mammograms. It was caught super, super early. I'm very lucky for that. But yeah, test your breasts, get your mammograms. It's super important.
yes. And then would you have anywhere for people to go if they're thinking about it or nervous about checking something out? Do you have any like websites or anything that maybe
Oh,
it's like,
yeah.
hey, try this or something?
To reduce anxiety about like
Yeah,
getting a
either
mammogram?
reducing the anxiety, or if they, like should specifically talk to a certain type of doctor, anything like that. I only ask because I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah. So there's breast centers all throughout Reno, and that's typically where everyone goes to get their regular mammograms. I feel like sometimes they do so many of them that it's very much like, boom, squash it out. Like they do it so quickly.
Get in the
And
machine, let's go.
Yeah, I like to have information. So the best thing I think as women that we can do is talk to one another about it.
Yeah, of course.
But also there's sources through the American Cancer Society, the Susan G. Komen Foundation. There's so many resources just for the basic information about the mammogram. The mammogram is really not scary. What is scary is is waiting on something so simple that could be a major lifesaver for a lot of people.
Yeah, finding the results.
Yeah, getting them early is
Yeah.
really important.
Yeah. Well, that's great that you found it and it's early and that they can take care of it and get everything. I feel like squashed is the wrong word, but I think it kind of fits.
Pretty much. Like, I don't know exactly. You know, I'll have a double mastectomy with reconstruction and just get it gone and taken care of. That's coming next month.
Yeah.
But further treatment, we'll see. You know,
Right.
as things develop. But yeah, I'm catching it early. It's good. Hopefully, it hasn't spread anywhere else,
Yeah.
and I won't have to worry about chemo or anything like that. Be nice.
That's all you can ask for.
Yeah.
So now you're kind of taking the pause and everything. One of the questions that I like here is, what other shows have you seen that have kind of given you other inspiration for your act? Have you seen any other shows that really stick out in your mind that you really enjoy?
Oh gosh, you mean locally or just anywhere?
Anywhere, yeah.
I mean, I'm a sponge for all of that. I watch as much burlesque as I can find, old and new, online, and live is sometimes hard around here.
Sure.
I travel to Sacramento to see shows,
Okay.
drag and burlesque. I'm very inspired by both.
Yeah.
But I watch as many shows as I can, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Try and take little bits and pieces and see what
Yeah.
they're doing.
And what a fantastic life to just be able to,
Perform, yeah.
perform, but also to see all that art. You know, it's just so exciting.
Yeah,
Anytime I'm just like a kid, you know, a big excited kid.
I get that completely.
Yeah.
Whenever I get to, I'm sort of similar when I watch movies, which is just, I see it from a different lens when I'm watching TV shows or movies or something, because I watch how the person is doing it, and then I think, okay, so the camera's right here, and then you can kind of see that they're doing X, Y, and Z. Oh, that looks so difficult. You know, you kind of think from a different lens
Yeah.
a little bit, and that's my favorite thing. I love performing with the acting or getting a. Do you ever incorporate any sort of? Because I know it's more of like a teasing based thing. Do you incorporate any comedy or drama
Oh my
into
gosh.
your performances?
It's cute. Burlesque is riddled with comedy. I mean, the term is, it's debatable, you know, exactly who said, you know, coined the term, you know, who said exactly what it means, but it is to make a mockery of. It's not, I mean, there is classic burlesque to me that is very serious, and I strive for that. It's intimidating a little bit, like,
Right.
but I'm working on my classic. But most of what I do is funny.
Yeah, it's
like
supposed to be
it's
fun.
silly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I really like that. I like to see it too,
Yeah.
you know, and I like that surprise as well. That, like, you
That
know,
shock and awe.
yeah, it's some of my favorite classic performers will build these very serious moments and then do something really silly. Might be subtle, but it's silly. It's so fun.
And what are the like performers that you really love? Like, what are the kinds? 'Cause for me in particular, I'm not familiar in that area. So what are the
Yeah.
other like big names that you love, or even small names?
Well, it started, the first one that I found out about is Dita Von Teese.
Okay.
She's running a show in Vegas right now, and Bob Mackey is doing
The
like all the
Capitol.
costumes, and it's just amazing. And there's quite a few stars in that show, including Dirty Martini. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
And then
I love the names.
I know they've got great names. And then there's like, oh gosh, I'm having a moment here, remembering names.
It's always when you
Oh my
ask on the
gosh,
spot.
yeah, on the spot. But just like the main attraction, she's based out of New York.
Okay.
And gosh, there's just so many.
so many that
Yeah,
are
I
coming.
was able to go to the Burlesque Hall of Fame Weekender, which is like the largest stage for burlesque.
Where was that at?
It's in Vegas every
Okay.
year. And, all these crazy, wild, freaky burlesque performers of every variety take over this hotel. And there's like 3 nights of performances. And I was just so inspired by so many performers there.
sure.
Like the list is endless. Yeah.
Just a giant Rolodex
It
of
was
people.
amazing. Yeah.
Have you thought about wanting to go down to Vegas? I would assume that would be the burlesque capital.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really. I think Vegas is slightly intimidating for me, just because it's really based on that. I wouldn't say all of it, but a lot of the venues like the showgirl aesthetic. So it's a little bit non-inclusive for all body types.
Sure.
And even all races sometimes.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So finding, that home in Vegas, for burlesque, but and a lot of the women that perform, or men too, that perform burlesque in Vegas are like uber famous,
Yeah.
It's a lot to strive for. I'm like, I don't know, maybe if there's a space for me,
Yeah.
in something like that. But just even branching out to like Sacramento and shows there. I've sent some applications out and still have a few more to send out for shows in Sacramento
That's great.
that hopefully I can pick up when I'm ready to come back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I'm ready to go.
Yeah, I'm ready now. I got my new boobs. Let's go.
Let's go. You guys aren't ready to see this? I'm going to tease you a little.
Right.
That's awesome. Well,
Yeah.
one of the other things here, now that you're kind of taking the break, so during that time, I know I did kind of ask a different version of this where you're kind of thinking of new performances. Is there any other type of genre that you'd like to jump into aside from just the burlesque? Like maybe taking the break, maybe I want to branch into a different kind of dancing or something like that. Do you have any kind of, or maybe acting in some way or something like that?
Yeah, I actually auditioned for and got into a radio program, it's like radio story hour kind of.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know exactly what's going on with that right now. They
Sure.
put production for that on pause. There's some drama somewhere.
Of course. Higher
And
ups.
then I was gonna audition for another one, but given everything on my schedule, I'm gonna pause on that. So
Yeah.
if another audition comes up while I'm healing, I would consider auditioning for another radio show.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like acting, I would like to eventually. A lot of my friends and I kind of joke that one day I'll do stand-up comedy.
Oh.
I'm like, got some good jokes I'm saving up. Anyway.
Maybe go into an open mic somewhere or something.
Yeah, there's a few places in Reno that are good to learn.
They do a
little
lot
Reno
of-
Improv and
yeah.
places like that. Yeah, so it's there, tickling the back of my brain.
Right. It was like, I've already got some performance skills
Yeah.
under my belt. Maybe
Yeah.
try to tell some jokes. That's awesome. Well, Tina, I want to thank you for coming in. We're actually going to get you out of here now. Before we do, go ahead and promote your socials again, wherever you'd like anybody to find, link trees, anything like that.
Yeah. So I am Titanium Tina Burlesque on Instagram, Titanium Tina on Facebook, and Titanium Tina on Linktree, where all of my performances and ticket links are available, and may have a show February 15th with Sweet and Lethal, and maybe brunch with the Thompsons on the 18th.
The Thompsons, a previous guest, check out
Yeah.
their episode as well. Well, Tina, thank you for coming in and kind of telling your story here.
Thanks for having me.
You guys know what to do over here for us. It's Stephen Longley for me, Longley's Line for our show, and Lightstyle Studio for the studio here. We will talk to you guys next week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.